All right. Welcome back to a special Survivor CNU video. This is a little impromptu, but I think Colin and I have talked about how season 3 would have ended the past over 2 years now. So I think we're gonna do due diligence. Everyone's seen like the season, so I think it's only fitting that we can finish this up. If you don't know who I am, you haven't been watching. I don't know how you found this video, but I'm the host of Survivor CNU for Generation One, Trevor. I hosted. This is Colin. He edited this past season. Colin, how are you?
Doing well. Excited to talk a little bit about something we've had off camera discussions for, like you said, over 2 years. I feel like every time we talk about it, we come up with a different answer. So if you're watching this hoping to get a firm answer on exactly what would have happened, this is going to be a disappointment. We do not know for sure, but there's a lot of different things that could have happened that are fun to talk about.
Yeah, if you thought the season was good up to this point, I think the final seven vote was going to be pretty crazy. I think moving forward, this end game was going to be insane. That's how I think. But how I'm going to start this is I'll talk about what it was to be like on campus at the time, and then we could get into like the game stuff. Um, so March 13th, 2020. Um, we were hearing rumors that we might get kicked off campus because of the coronavirus. I personally I was like, oh, there's no way they're gonna kick us off. Like, I just couldn't foresee everything that would have happened. Um, but yeah, I did confessionals that day. Went to classes. Everything was normal. People were concerned and stuff. Did tribal council. Ali played the idol successfully. Davis was voted out. Um, and that's all you guys saw. Right after, in fact, we ran a challenge, an immunity challenge right after, and we were playing. We were all right, tribal in however many days, as long as we're here, and we'll just see what happens. The next morning, woke up and we were told we need to leave campus immediately. Um, so after that, um, I think I speak for everyone that the players and production that we were just so mentally unprepared. Like in terms of like logistically, I had I might have been able to think of some challenges and making Skypes and all this stuff. I might have been able to, but mind you, like we're all students and stuff, and this is a global event that's happening, and I don't think any of us really. I don't want to say like didn't want to do it, but we just had no drive to do it because of the circumstances around us. So that we just felt it was best to just cancel and moving forward. Um, it is unfortunate, but it's the call we made. I stand by what we did, and luckily we were able to continue moving forward and making seasons afterward and everything. Yeah, I mean, I think that's correct. I think that's it, Con. Right? I don't think there's anything else that needs to be discussed as far as like ending the season.
No, not too much. I think it's just interesting kind of looking back at it, especially in those like last couple of episodes, listening to a lot of the confessionals you're having. I remember specifically one that you're having with Kelly, where you talked for a couple of minutes about like the possibility of, oh, maybe we're going to be taken off campus. And like if Kelly says, okay, well, if that is what happens, what are we going to do here? And you're like, I really don't know. I really am not sure what's going to happen here. It'd be really unprecedented. I don't really know what kind of course of action we would take just because I kind of have it all planned out for, okay, we're going to be in person and we can meet in this room or in this part of the campus. To have to move all of that online, as well as all the tribal councils and then any of the conversations that any players want to have that happen online. I'm not so sure how much that would have been able to have been done as effectively as possible for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and then me personally, I know I had like tough classes that year, so I really didn't feel like planning on the entire season out and everything. Um, Obviously, I wish I could have done it, but I at the time I knew there was just no way. Um, but that's
But
that's why
like you
we're
said,
here.
yeah, like you said, I think we were ramping up for a really interesting vote at the final seven. I was thinking about it earlier, and I actually think this season is somewhat similar to Survivor San Juan del Sur. I don't think anyone really watches San Juan del Sur for like, oh, there's so many great strategists, all about like Keith Nail, what a strategist, or any of these. Like, there are, of course, some very good strategists, some awesome players on that season, just like there was here. But that's not like the main point of the season. It's more of a character-driven season, which is how I see that comparison. So I was thinking about it like, okay, it's almost as if Survivor San Juan del Sur ended right after Julie quit, right before Jeremy and Josh, they're about to go to war. They're going after each other. We don't know which way it's going to be. It's going to go. You've got John and Jacqueline in the middle. You don't know who's going to have the numbers going into this vote, and then the season ends. And I think that's how it's going to happen here in this battle of Allie versus Kelly.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I remember, I'm sure you saw this, Colin, but I remember doing confessionals with Allie and Kelly, and it was almost like a love triangle where I would ask, progressively it got worse. Like I would ask like, are you a trio, or is it just you and Sam? Like how does it work? And I think at first they were like, yeah, it's us three, but like after the merge, I'd say like once Marion went home, Allie and Kelly definitely started eyeing each other up, and I think that's where somehow once again, I think the theme of the season once again, Lewis is in like the best spot strategically that he gets to pick what happens, and I think his vote is huge at the final seven especially.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit higher on Lewis. I mean, I love Lewis. Lewis is a fantastic character. Um, I've gone through a lot of different scenarios, and I'm struggling to see a great spot for Lewis here. So I'm excited to get into a little bit of where we see Lewis playing a factor in all of this, because I think that Sarah plays a huge factor as well. Sarah, one of the other major players at this point in the season, has been able to sneak through 2 votes of blindsided when Marion went home, and then was able to get that great immunity win once it was time to take out Davis. That I think that she, along with her connection with Maya and connection with Millen, is able to potentially make some moves here.
And just for reference, we have like the challenge list in front of us. We'll explain what the challenges were and everything. So I think we can just get into it. Final 7 was touchy subjects, as it always is. My favorite challenge, because it just reveals it's the best challenge as a production. It's worse as a player. So pretty normal challenge. I think Sarah was out quick. I think Maya was also pretty quickly. But the interesting thing, kind of similar to last season with Colin Ray having to pick between Hannah and Kristen. Obviously, this one's more obviously a different scenario. But Lewis had to pick between the final 3 was Lewis, Kelly, and Allie. Lewis had to cross out either Kelly or Allie's last one, and he stood up there for, I mean, it had to have been 3 minutes, him just standing there thinking, because he had told both of them that they were going to go for the other one at 7. So as crazy as it was, Sarah winning immunity at 8, because she was probably going to go home there, she's not getting a vote here. Would you agree with that, Colin?
I think I think there is a chance that, because I don't think that Lewis actually wants to, and Sam especially, I know, does not want to make this war happen just yet. I think when you talk about the love triangle between Allie, Kelly, and Sam, I think that Sam is really in the middle here, really trying to say like, no, we can work together. And I also do feel like Lewis, it's in his best interest for the 4 of them to remain a tight 4. Now, he is doing a lot of things to make it so that they want to target each other, such as telling the other one that they're going to take each other out at 5. So he is potentially sacrificing some of his game for some entertaining TV, which I'm very happy for. And this is what I love Lewis's for, is he's understanding of this is what is going to be super interesting to watch, of how funny is it that I'm responsible for Kelly and Allie going after each other. So I think that there's a shot that Lewis and Sam are able to pull it so that they come back together for 1 vote, but I see it as rather unlikely.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I know, especially Sam's just a mediator. That's just who she is. So I could totally see her doing that. So Lewis eventually did decide. He decided to take Allie out of the challenge. Allie was really shocked. I think she threw a marker or something. At Lewis or something. It was really funny. And then Lewis got like the next question right, and Lewis won immunity. So Lewis is immune at 7, as if he was going to go home at 7. And I think honestly, as I say that, I think Lewis winning immunity, like I think he wants the chaos now because he knows he can't go here. I could see him being like, yeah, let's just do it, just flip the switch and go for war here. I know I don't know. He did a couple of things. He had said he wanted his final three to be Allie and Sam at one point, but then he also was really close with Kelly because he knew they were a duo. And his vote here is interesting. But I know you especially are thinking Sarah's in a good spot here. What are you thinking there?
Right. I'm actually gonna pull up the document that I created
Do it.
for. Let me know when you can see it.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. So here I have 7 players in the game, as well as the 2 on the jury as we talk through these different scenarios. So we've got, the way I see it is that there's almost 4 centers of power in the game. There's Allie, who's got Sam with her. There's Kelly, who's got Millen with her. There's Sarah, who's got Maya with her. And then there's Lewis, kind of on his own. I think he was closest with Davis. I feel like it was really interesting at 8 that almost each of them had a person. But between them, there's a lot of like cross lines with Kelly and Sam have a connection. Lewis and Kelly, a lot of them dependent on Kelly. Of Kelly and Maya, I think, are a little bit close. So there's a lot of interesting connections here. So if we take a look at it from this perspective, if we say these 2 are at war, Allie versus Kelly, these 2 are going to vote for Kelly, these 2 are going to vote for Allie. So then we're left with Sarah, Maya, and Lewis. I think that a lot of the connections, both Sarah and Maya, were blindsided with Marion going home. They formed a good connection in that post-swap tribe to be able to want to work together there. I think it's very likely that the 2 of them are going to end up voting together in this one, which in a group of 7, that would give either side of them 4. So to me, Sarah is the main swing vote here, and I'm really torn on which way she would have ended up going on this.
Right. And I think another thing to point out is Millen was in that alliance with Marion, Maya, and Sarah. That was the post-swap alliance. And Kelly, once they merged, Kelly kind of got Millen back in her good graces, and that's why this chart's this way. Now I know, I don't know if it came across, but Sarah was seen as like the biggest threat in terms of outside of the four being Kelly, Lewis, Allie, Sam. They saw her as the biggest threat, at least strategically. And I know that they didn't trust her, and I know they wanted her gone. At some point, like it was like one of those like, oh, at some point we'll take Sarah out. When she wanted me at 8, that was kind of the mentality going forward. So yeah, I think you're bringing up a good point. Like, as much as we can think like, oh, Lewis is on his own, so he's the swing vote. Like, you only need 4, and there's 3 duos, so it's pretty easy to get those numbers. Yeah, and we know Sarah has wanted Kelly gone, and she's clocked her for a few rounds at this point. Allie and Sam, I don't think there's much of a relationship, if at all, with Sarah.
So this is what I find interesting with Sarah is both of these relationships. First, we'll go over a quick review of what happened with Kelly. Is that they were originally on the same tribe on the original NGL. So on the original NGL together in that group of 4 of Kelly, Sarah, Marion, and John, later replaced by Sam. So that was the original alliance there. And I feel like at that time, Sarah was able to pick up on, hey, Kelly's pretty good and is able to make a lot of connections quickly. And she is a dangerous player, but she's a dangerous player in my alliance, so I'm okay with it. Pretty much immediately after the swap, she's no longer on that tribe, and she is telling Marion, she's telling Maya, hey, Kelly's really dangerous. Kelly's a really good player. And is really trying to get that narrative out there that Kelly is really good. So Sarah's had her eye on Kelly as a player, I think, from pretty much the start of the game. Now, you're right. There isn't really much of a relationship between Sarah and Allie in particular, but I think this is something that Allie was trying to build in the latest episode when Davis ended up going home. Because if you remember, there was numbers to take Davis out there, and Sam was telling Allie, you don't need to tell anyone else. We're just going to get the plan out there more. It's only a bigger chance that it's going to blow up. And then Allie still reached out to Sarah and told Sarah that the vote was going to be Davis, trying to form that connection because she knew there wasn't one there and potentially felt the need to pick that up to be able to take her shot at Kelly that she wanted to do next time. I don't know if that is what Allie was thinking, but I think that's a possibility that she was trying to build that connection in the most recent vote.
And I think the issue with trying to plan this end game is this vote, because like if it was at the final four or whatever, we could probably guess like, oh, if it's at this, if we can bring some scenarios up. The final seven, if we have no clue what's happening, then like that's the entire end game. The end game starts with this vote.
Right.
So I mean, you could bring up like 6 scenarios with each of its logics, and I would probably agree that would happen. That's just how fluid this game is at this point with Davis going home, with the idol being played. That was another thing. I think Allie playing the idol successfully, that really put a target on her back. I think especially with like people like Millen, Kelly, and Sarah, like everyone not named Sam. I think that really showed that Allie is building her resume for the jury. I think Marion and Davis would have respected, especially Davis. I remember he said like, "Oh, that was so good" or something when he was voted out.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I definitely think it's worth even going through scenario A and scenario B of, okay, scenario A is Allie goes home and scenario B is Kelly goes home at 7, and kind of just exploring both routes, because I think that Sarah would take out whoever she perceives as the bigger threat, which she has been saying that has been Kelly the whole time, but in the later pushes when she was getting enough pushback on the Kelly, kind of switched it over to Allie, especially with the idol play. If she's presented with both options, I'm not 100% sure which one she takes, and it honestly might just come down to who makes the stronger pitch, and that's something we really can't account for. So I think it would make sense to kind of take a look through both scenarios of whichever way we go.
And I think the last thing before we get into the scenarios is, again, we don't really know where Lewis stands in this. I remember at the time, I have a scenario of at the time what I think would have happened. I think some time has passed and we've thought about it, but I will mention this, like when we go through this, I will mention the scenario in like April of 2020, what I think would have happened. But yeah, I think I lean toward Lewis would be on the Kelly side of things. That's where I think I would lean, but I know he, like I said, he had a final 3 with Allie and Sam. And the fact that if Sarah and Maya are voting together, like Lewis's vote almost is meaningless in that way.
Right.
Okay, so do we want to go through
which one you want to do? You pick.
Yeah,
which one do you want to take out first?
Let's do the one. Yeah, let's go through what I thought would have happened. So what I in 2020 thought would have happened was Allie goes home at 7, and the reason I think that is because of the Lewis Kelly thing and the challenge of Lewis had a choice to take either Allie or Kelly out of the challenge immediately, and he chose Allie. And they both had plans, and he risked Kelly winning immunity. I don't know if he'd risk Kelly winning immunity if he wanted her to go home. So I think he would be pushing for Allie to go. Kelly would be pushing. Maybe Millen maybe Maya has some relationship with any of those 3. I know she's pretty close with Kelly. Maybe that would flip the vote that way. But that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that works. Yeah, like I said, I mean, we've gone back and forth on this almost on at least a monthly basis of which way it ends up going at 7. So yeah, I mean, it's both are very possible ways it goes.
Yeah. So then let's go to the final 6. Final 6. We normally do. We like doing an endurance challenge after the final 7. Final 7 tribal. And we were going to do the pole challenge, but we decided because it was warm at this time of year. I don't know. Well, we decided to do something different.
You just want to change it up, yeah.
Yeah, Megan, especially our videographer, she was the one that was pitching. Her and Gwen were pitching hard to do wall sits. I think especially because of how cold it got in deep water, it was freezing. So we were going to do wall sits. Now I don't know how we decide who wins this challenge.
Yeah, I was hoping. I was going through it the other day, and I didn't know how to answer this, so I was just hoping you would have an answer of who you think that's the best.
Um,
If we want, we can just exclude immunity from this specific one because this is a really
I
tough
mean,
one to predict.
for me, I don't think it matters because I think if I had to say three people I think could win, I would say Lewis, Millen, or Sam. I think they'd be my biggest contenders to win immunity. But I would think in my 2020 scenario, I had Sarah going home at 6.
Right.
Um,
I mean, these are the lines, right? It's Maya and Sarah against
yeah,
Kelly has picked up Lewis from the last one, and then Kelly picks up Sam after Allie is gone.
yeah, and I know Sam just lost her roommate. But I think Sam's a very forgiving person.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if she would. I personally don't think she would like drop the relationship she has with Lewis and Kelly and go to Sarah and Maya and like go to Rocks. Like I don't think that's the way she would play.
I mean, and Kelly has a history of she blindsided Millen and then was able to still pick him up at the last minute. So I
Exactly.
100% agree. In this scenario, Sarah goes home at 6.
Okay.
But now it gets interesting.
Now it's really interesting because we were leading up to the Kelly Alley war, and Kelly won. Now we're at the Kelly Lewis war.
Potentially.
Potentially.
I really like. Do they take this shot at each other at 5? Do they try and wait until 3? Do they take each other to the final 2? I really am not sure what the end game looks like for the two of them.
I think Lewis, while I think Lewis would understand it'd be the most entertaining final 2 of Lewis Kelly, I think Lewis would be in the camp of take the person that you know you can beat.
Agreed.
Um, um yeah, I'm like thinking out loud. So I know in my scenario I had what was the challenge? Challenge was a memory challenge.
Right.
God, I don't remember who I had winning this. It's really a crapshoot. I would think Millen or Kelly probably wins.
I
I
was gonna
think.
I was gonna guess either Kelly or Sam, just based off of the other memory challenge that happened before the swap in the I believe the Chase booth. So I feel
Right.
like they were two of the better ones there.
I could see Millen doing like really well or being like out first. I could see both scenarios.
I'm happy giving it to Kelly here.
Yeah, I think Kelly winning it makes sense. I I think this is where Lewis would want to take the shot
At
at
Kelly,
5 at Kelly here, but if she wins immunity,
let
then
me. So, let's say she doesn't. Is there a way for Lewis to get Kelly here? Can he pick up 2 other numbers to vote for Kelly?
I mean he'd have to get Maya and Sam, right? To
I don't
get
think there's any. I don't think there's any chance he gets Sam. I
mm,
think there's a better chance he gets Millen than Sam. I think the issue here is that he has to get 2 of. So if it's Kelly versus Lewis here, once these pictures load back in. So it's Kelly versus Lewis. Who can get 2 of these 3? Of these 3, Lewis has lost a lot of trust with Maya with everything that happened with Chase early in the game. And that might come back to bite him here, that she has really lost all trust. She lost a lot of trust with him the first time, and she pretty much lost all trust with him the second time when Chase was able to stay around. So I think that's a tough vote for Lewis to get. And Sam has always been very hesitant to trust Lewis. That I
mm,
think that would almost be I think that is honestly the hardest vote for Lewis to get.
yeah.
I think Lewis's best shot is to get Millen and Maya, and I still think that's a bit of a reach, in my opinion. At the final, if this is the final 5, if Kelly wants the shot at Lewis, I think he's done.
But that's the thing. I don't know if Kelly's wants to take the shot here
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know in this scenario. Like I don't know any of the social dynamics. Like is Maya still cool with Kelly? Is Sam still cool with Kelly? Does Millen recognize that Kelly's a big threat and the most likely to win at this point? I don't know. I the final 5 was really tough, especially in hypotheticals.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like I don't know. I feel like at the time I associated that Lewis would get Sam and Maya, but I think, like I said, like flushing it out like today, like that just doesn't make sense. Who do we give Kelly this immunity? Is that right?
We gave Kelly the immunity, yes.
I mean, like, if Kelly votes at Lewis here, like, how does Kelly not win the game, right?
Honestly, I'm looking at it like I'm already at the point of how does Kelly not win the game?
Because
Like,
I don't think,
at the
go
minimum
ahead.
makes the final three.
And she probably, and I think Kelly, after Lewis, I think Kelly wants it the most.
Right. I think
Um,
with this final five, the only way Kelly is not the winner is if she brings Lewis to the final three and Lewis wins the final immunity challenge and cuts her. To me, Kelly is the winner in every other scenario.
yeah, because I mean, even if, like, let's just say they take out like Maya here or whatever, if
Maya.
if um Lewis can get Sam in a tiebreaker, like I think I would still bet Kelly could win in a tiebreaker. And Final Four, just for Final Four challenge was a second chances, yeah, obstacle course sort of challenge.
I think Lewis wins that challenge, by the way.
Yeah, because he did well. Well, the final was, it was Davis, Lewis, and who was the other finalists?
Allie.
Allie. I mean, yeah, they're all gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Lewis would probably win at 4, taking him to 3, and then 3 is Kona and a hard domino, like always. So yeah, it's tough.
I think Kelly's the winner in this scenario. If Allie goes home at 7, I believe Kelly wins.
Now, one other thing to note is, let's just say the final 3 is Millen, Sam, Kelly.
Right?
I think Sam is the best at endurance challenges.
Yes.
So do we think Sam cuts Kelly and takes Millen?
I don't think so. I think the best chance of that happening would be Allie getting in Sam's ear. I do feel like Sam would want to take Kelly here.
I agree. I completely agree. I mean, they live together, so I'm like, that's something I can't really. No one can really control that they live together. I think if Sam acting independently, I think she would take Kelly and be happy knowing whatever happens because they did play a pretty similar game. Like they've been on the same tribe since the start. But I could see Allie definitely getting in her ear to push that against her. So, Allie going at 7. Depending on what happens with Lewis and anything with Sam, Kelly seems like the winner here.
I agree.
Okay.
Let's reset the board.
Let's reset. And the person that we just said won. Now we're gonna get into the scenario where the opposite happens.
Yeah, that's why this is a big vote. We're looking at it as either we're 50-50 on who goes, and we are looking at a 50% chance Kelly wins and a 50% chance she goes home at 7. So
yeah, so this would be where, like I said, Lewis could either be in on this vote or out on this vote, but the relationship between Sarah and Allie could have cultivated, and now they agree. Sarah's happy; she finally gets the big target out. And now we have a new 4 potentially, depending on Lewis. We have a new 4 of these women who have taken control of this game.
Right. So now I know from Allie's confessional before Davis went home, she laid out her exact plan of what she wanted to get to the end. So step 1 was Davis going out at 8. Step 2, Kelly going out at 7. Step 3, so Allie's plan at this point is to take out Sarah. Sarah is her target at the final 6.
Yeah, which again, like Allie or Sam, win this wall sit.
Agreed.
So I think Sarah's kind of locked in at 6th place.
So is she locked in at 6th place though? Because
Right.
Allie and Sam vote for Sarah, and let's say Allie. Do you want to say Allie wins immunity to give it to one of them?
Yeah, I think Allie's probably the most likely.
Okay, so then Sarah and Maya both vote for Sam here. So then we're left with Millen and Lewis's votes. Now these two were both probably blindsided in Kelly going home. I don't think that either of them were aware that that was the way it was going. Now, I feel like Lewis is closer with Sam and Allie, whereas Millen is closer with Sarah and Maya. So we're almost looking at a 3-3 deadlock here.
Right.
So my take on it is that this is where we're heading, and Lewis is going to save himself and flip over on the revote to avoid rocks. Ending in singles elimination. This is another tough one here. That on this, I actually am a little bit higher on Sarah's chances here to pull something off because of her relationships with Maya and Millen.
I think let's just say Lewis isn't in on the Kelly vote. I think he would probably flip regardless of what Millen does, or maybe try to convince Millen. So I think in there, I think Sam would probably go.
You think Sam goes?
If Lewis isn't in on it. So if Lewis is in on the Kelly vote and stays with Allie and Sam, I know Lewis is extremely self-preservatory, but if we go to rocks, he has a 33% chance of going home as opposed to like someone on their side at 66%.
Is he looking at it that way though? Is he looking at it as we are a tight three of me, Sam, and Allie? Like that's what I kind of am like. I don't know if he sees that as a tight three. I feel like, especially this being his second chance, like he has been voted out once before. I feel like he's like, okay, I'm fine. I'll just drop them and then I'll just go win the challenges. I feel like that would kind of be his mentality. Is my take on it. Is I feel like he would want to preserve his game and not do that, whereas Millen wouldn't care as much. Whereas I feel like he'd be more so, oh, I went home in a rock draw. That was pretty cool.
I agree. And I think Maya probably just sticks with Sarah. I don't think either. Like you said, Millen, I think would be like, that's really cool. We're going to rocks. And I think Maya, I don't think she gets like antsy about going home or anything. And I think Lewis probably knows both of those things. So even if he sticks on the revote, I think when they go to rocks, he's like, it's Sam.
Right. Yep. So we saying it's Sam here?
Yeah, Sam here makes sense. And now this is a very interesting situation where Sarah now, I think still Sarah might be like the third biggest threat still. Because I think at this point, Allie is probably still the biggest threat in the game, if not because of the idol, just because physically she probably won Final 6. And I think Lewis just being Lewis, I think it's just a big threat. If you want to argue Sarah over Lewis at this point, I wouldn't blame you. But I think for Millen's sake, I think he probably would stick with Sarah here for this vote.
He stayed, like, you think these three stay as a tight three?
I think at least for this vote, especially because after this, so this is the oh, never mind. I thought this was a physical challenge.
This is block memory, right?
This is block memory, which
so my gosh, Sarah wins easy.
Oh, Sarah wins easily. I was gonna say if this is the physical challenge, then I think they're like, oh, they're both probably the best physically, so we can get that one out. But
I think Allie goes on here.
I think so.
Allie.
I think so too. I think Lewis could be like, I'm just gonna bank on it being a Final 3, trying to win this meter or something.
And one thing I want to point out, just for clarity, if anyone out there is saying, hey, what about if they had found an idol? Trevor, how was this? I believe the contestants here did not do a great job in finding idols. I believe 3 idols were hidden throughout the season, and only 1 was found, correct?
Yes. So the first idol was hidden. And unfortunately, everyone thought Chase found it like day 2.
Well, probably Chase told just about everyone he found it on about day 6.
Yeah. So everyone kind of stopped looking for it. Like I know we showed the clip of Maya like basically stepped on the idol and like didn't pick it up. So that was frustrating. No one even looked for the consensus.
The general consensus is that Chase went home with the first idol. That is what I believe. Just about everyone in the game believes that Chase went home with the first idol.
And I don't really know what happened with the second idol. I gave the clues out. No, I don't recall anyone ever looking for it. And like at this point, at like 6 and 5, I don't think anyone even thinks it's in the game anymore because Alex just played it. I think people thought Davis had it.
I feel like there was a thing that they thought both Chase and Davis had an idol, but then like they kind of like they voted out Chase and then they just forgot about both idols at that point.
Now, because Allie played it, I think I would have rehidden one.
Yes, you would have rehidden it, but I do not believe it would have been found.
I don't, this was a great cast. I don't think anyone would have found it. Granted, Allie did find the last one off of, I think that off of 2 clues, right?
Yeah,
right?
I'm assuming it was a post-merge idol, so it'd only be 1 clue.
Unless, because it could have been after the final, after Millen. No, it was after Millen read the clue after Sarah won immunity. So there was 2 clues.
Yeah, 2 clues, you're right, because you do it after immunity. Yep. Right.
And that was a hard idol to find, I will say, that Allie found. So I think there is a case for it, but based on the previous 56 days or whatever, I'm gonna assume no one finds this idol.
There's a lot of frustration this season from everyone's side about these idols. A lot of the players were unhappy, and I think almost at a point of we're feeling too depressed about even looking for an idol because they all felt like it was a waste of time to find them. So yeah, I don't want to factor that too much into these.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring it up. Yeah, and production, I will say, was also frustrated of like should we even hide them? They're not even. They're assuming Chase hasn't. It's been like 4 hours. Like, what are we doing? But
all right, so final 4.
Yeah, I think it's safe. Allie goes here. Final 4 is the obstacle course, which I think we're still going to get to Lewis here.
Agreed.
There's no snow, so I think Sarah's safe, but I still probably give it to Lewis. Now, par second, I think it would have been a similar thing to last season where it was like an order of elimination. I don't know how Lewis would have done with that. Like, I don't know if he would have remembered everyone.
That was the piece that was going to be tougher for me. Is Lewis going to be able to name everyone? But I do believe I don't know. I think it would just be Caroline that he's going to end up struggling with, right?
Because he didn't remember John because they run the same tribe.
And then he was there for something else.
Yeah.
It's always the trick with these is forgetting who went home first or second on the other tribe, because I feel like on that same point, like I could see Sarah struggling to remember Jess.
Let me see. I actually have the exact challenge. It would have been a dizzy bat around cones, throw the ball into the basket. It would have been to retrieve and solve a math equation, which Sarah would be killed at. The boot order and then stacking dominoes. I still do think. Oh, there's no pink. I don't think there was a. No, yeah. So the problem with the merge one was no one could ping pong paddle across. So I think I took that out of the second chances. So I do think this is more open than we think of potentially Sarah winning this. Which is a big deal because I think if Sarah wins, Lewis goes home. If Lewis wins, then Sarah actually has to think about this vote.
Right.
I think I'd still probably give it to Lewis. I think physically.
I agree. I'm happy giving this to Lewis.
I think physically he's just gonna win, and even if he doesn't beat Sarah in the boot order, I think he would probably try to look off of Sarah's if she leaves it untouched, or I think he'd try to beat her dominoes too.
So then I believe that Sarah and Maya in this case both vote for Millen.
Yeah, and I think Lewis. Well, here's the other thing. If Lewis I think Lewis would be actually. I might switch it. I think Lewis would probably want Millen out because I think if he just won immunity against these two, I think he's going to think I could probably beat them. Millen's my only competition. If it's like what do you think about that? And the girls might be like, well, might want to go out for each other because Millen could beat them. But I mean, I guess Sarah probably came in second or third.
I think that Sarah and Maya definitely vote Millen because I think the two of them are a duo, especially at this point through all the votes that they've been through. I think the two of them are a duo. So there's 2 votes for Millen. I think that Millen probably votes Sarah here as the bigger threat. So the question is, to me, Lewis's vote. I had immediately assumed he was gonna force the tie to take out the biggest threat to win, which would be Sarah. But that's an interesting point, is that he may perceive Millen as the bigger immunity threat, even though. But I mean, at this point, Sarah has won 2 immunity challenges.
Yeah, I think he'd have to vote Sarah.
You think you vote Sarah? I mean, I think Lewis would be fine forcing a tie. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, he's immunity. What does he get? So it's a tiebreaker between Millen and Sarah.
Yep. Do you know what the tiebreaker would have been this season? Would you have done questions about the season?
I would have done questions about the season. I was trying to see if I had a tiebreaker prepared. I don't think a tie was ever gonna be in place. The only tie we had was when Chase got voted out, when they split the votes.
I think I would feel confident saying that if it's a questions about the season, I think Sarah would beat Millen.
I agree. I
think Sarah put more into the game and would remember, and I think Millen would admit that as well, that Sarah put more into the game than he did. And I think that she would want it more and would be able to win that challenge.
Yeah, I completely agree. So now this is an interesting final two, because final three, I mean, because I think whoever wins this challenge wins the game. Because it's Colin and her domino. No discredit to Maya. I don't think Maya was as invested as the other two. I don't think she would have been there for that long. I think especially knowing, like, they're both probably going to take me. Like, Maya doesn't really have a reason to compete too hard here.
So I think this is a really interesting final three, because I believe right after Marion went home, Lewis was annoyed that Sarah and Maya had both voted for him and didn't really want to work with them. So I think that's fun now that is the final three here.
Definitely. Oh man, I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a battle of endurance and a little bit of who wants it more. What's the temperature? What does everyone have going on for their classes? If I can't stay out past a certain time, or
if a domino slips. I mean, it's happened the past 2 seasons. John Poley lost his domino and Hannah lost her domino. It happens.
It's a really hard one to predict, because it's a very much a battle of endurance, but there's also a little bit of luck of. I mean, these are very small dominoes. You lose your concentration for a half a second, and that's not something we can predict. So I think that I'm confident just stopping here and saying it's a 50-50. Whoever you think wins that cone on a hard domino, whoever does that is going to probably end up taking Maya and winning here.
Yeah, and I think we kind of skipped over any jury stuff, but I think just real quick, if Kelly's in the final two with anyone, I don't think she loses a vote. Like, I think
Allie votes for Sam, but yeah.
Yeah, besides the roommates are gonna vote for each other, but I don't think there's a scenario. I mean, Maya might vote, like, if it's like, but there's like, what scenario is that? It's Kelly and Sarah, but
yeah.
Here, I think it's probably close to UNAM as well, either one with Maya.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think once Davis went home, I think everyone knew that, like, the 4 plus Sarah, like, those are the threats that can win this game. Would you agree with that? That it's kind of those 4, and Sam's the more like passive one, and Allie's like the aggressive one. That's like kind of the peanut butter and jelly, so to speak.
Agreed. Would you say since the merge? I would say at least since the Marion vote out, that was kind of the
right.
perspective. I feel like it was a little bit more in the air right at the merge, but once Marion was gone, I think it was pretty settled as these are really our likely winners, one of this group. And I would even have said Sarah's not really in that group, because, like you said earlier, if she doesn't win that immunity at 8, I don't see a way she survives that vote.
Yeah, definitely. I think she might have been able to get some votes her way, but I mean, she did get Millen to try to get Allie out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't see why. I honestly don't even know if Davis flips at that point, because, like, why is he flipping?
Yeah, I think that a lot of the craziness that happened in that vote was because Sarah had immunity. Like, I'm not so sure how much conversation of the Allie wants to take out Kelly and Kelly wants to take out Allie, and that conversation may not even happen there because it's such an like they're barely even talking because okay, it's Sarah, clean deal. And I mean, another part of that is that was all because they were all looking for the idol together because Millen gave everyone the clue. If Sarah doesn't win the challenge, Millen probably doesn't get that clue. Maybe Allie never even finds that idol.
Yeah, that's true. I
Butterfly.
couldn't even tell you who second place was. Like that was like quite possibly
There
the
was
biggest
not a clear
blowout
second
ever.
place.
That
Yeah,
was
there was
quite
not a
possibly.
clear.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying there was not a clear second place. It really could have been, and everyone else was pretty much tied because I mean I don't think anyone had even submitted a second answer. Most people hadn't been back for a second time even.
Yeah, probably the biggest blowout I ever saw in person. Um, I mean, people have thrown challenges like we saw last season, but um, that was it was finally challenge was pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we hope that there was some clarity here. Obviously, there's some scenarios we didn't mention. Like, what if Lewis does want to go to the final two with Kelly? That changes a lot of things, and if Kelly wants that too, um, maybe an immunity goes differently. Maybe someone does find the idol. Um, there's just so many possibilities that could have happened, and it's just unfortunate that it got taken away from us.
I mean, and maybe there's even some conversations that like changed the game. I mean, that's what happened. I feel like in both seasons 1 and 2, there were two people who were against each other. You had John and Shane in season 1; they were very much against each other in back-to-back blindsides against each other, taking out their closest ally. And then they said, okay, you know what? We're just going to work together and we're going to make the finals together. Then last season, in season 2, we had Shaggy and Hannah eventually came together and started working together once Lily was voted out and eventually made the finals together. So maybe there's a world where we're just one conversation away between Allie and Kelly of hey, let's just work together, and they're able to make it to the finals. We'd seen it. We're 2 for 2 on it. Who's to say we wouldn't have been 3 for 3?
I was gonna say, I think a Kelly Sarah conversation would have been really interesting if like that had been the conversation.
It would
To
have.
have them be in the final two.
And that's a conversation Kelly would have had to have had probably in order to get the 4 votes against Allie. I mean, she has Millen if she picks up Lewis. And then I think as long as everyone sees Maya and Sarah as a duo, which I do believe they were at that time, then I think that that conversation would need to have been had.
Yeah. If it wasn't obvious with with 9 people at the merge, it would have been a final two. Because like I'm not gonna final 3 with 6 jurors. That'd be crazy. Um, yeah. I think that those are probably the likeliest scenarios of the final 7. It's either Allie or Kelly. Um, Sarah's in a big spot. Lewis's mindset can change the next few votes. Yeah, I think either way it would have been a fine ending to the season. So we can only talk about it for 2 years and hope people agree with us.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that's everything on our part. If anyone has any questions or scenarios you want to pitch to us, like definitely put that in the comment section. We'll do our best to respond to any scenarios or anything like that. Like if you're like, oh, well, where would the idol been hidden? Honestly, I don't know that answer. If like, I probably would have. I might honestly, I might have looked at what I did for season 4, but yeah, if you have questions like that, we'll do our best to answer to help you with any scenarios you're thinking of. But I think this kind of puts we had a good wrap at the end of season 3. I think this puts a nice little bow on top of servicing you lost at sea. So yeah, thank you, Colin, for joining me and talking about it with me for 2 years
Right.
at this point. Yeah, like we said, hopefully this brought some clarity, and we look forward to season 4, servicing you uncharted waters, where we're in a COVID world, and we'll see how that affects the game.
Yeah, it's going to change things up a little bit, at least. I mean, I know all the policies on campus were different, so it's gonna look a little bit different. I know.
Yeah, it definitely be a different look. So anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you in the fall for servicing you uncharted waters.